What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Hearthstone video here at GetBonkd. Today we're going to be taking a look at all the new legendaries that will be released with the launch of Goblins vs Gnomes. First up are all the neutral legendaries, starting with Truxor the Earthinator. A 6/6 for the cost of 7, as long as this bad boy is on the board, whenever your opponent plays a spell, you'll instantly summon a burly Rockjaw Trug. This summon is a 3/5 that gains 2 attack anytime your opponent casts a spell. This card is looking to be extremely strong and hard to deal with. Even if it gets Firebolt, Assassinated, or Siphon Soul, you'll still get the summon off and a free 3/5 on the board. Up next is Toshli, a 6 cost 5/7. This card has both a Battle Cry and a Death Rattle. When they trigger, add a spare part to your hand. Spare parts are a bunch of 1-cost spells that affect minions. This is an okay card that can trade really well against the very popular Lotheb, not to mention the added card draw. Sneed's Odd Shredder is next. This is an 8 cost 5/7 with Death Rattle. When it dies, summon a random legendary minion. If you're looking for a fun and crazy game changer, this card is for you. Even if you're not a fan of RNG, this card still holds great value. Just imagine all the reincarnate shamans that will be running this monster. Next up is Mogre the Ogre. A 6 cost 7/6, this card has a consistent effect upon being played. All minions, yours and the enemy's, have a 50% chance of attacking the wrong enemy. This card just spells absolute chaos and hilarity. Besides the fun factor though, I doubt we'll see this card very often. Let's take a look at Mimiron's Head. A 5 cost 4/5, this card has a very unique element to it. At the start of your turn, if you have at least 3 mechs, destroy them all and form Vol'jin. Keep in mind that Mimiron's Head is a mech itself, so you only need 2 more. While this might be hard to pull off since it gives your opponent a chance to react during his turn, the possibilities are crazy. This card also synergizes very well with Rogue's Conceal. Vol'jin is a 4/8 with charge and Mega Wind Fury, meaning he can attack 4 times each turn. The damage potential on this card is absolutely ridiculous, and since it has charge, Shadow Stepping it for the next turn can be devastating. Really strong rogue synergy here. Up next is Mechgineer Thermaplug. A 9 cost 9/7, this card has a constant effect upon being played. Whenever an enemy minion dies, summon a Leper Gnome to fight for you. In case anyone is returning to the game recently and needs a reminder, Leper Gnome is a 2/1 with a Death Rattle that deals 2 damage to your enemy upon activation. This card does not seem strong enough for such a high cost, mainly due to its low health. Hemet Nessingway is a 5 cost 6/3 with a Battle Cry. When played, destroy a beast. This card seems weak unless something shifts in the meta drastically and control beasts become extremely popular. Also, it's probably not a good idea to play this as a hunter or a druid, considering you might be forced to kill your own beast. For this card, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Gaslow is next. A 6 cost 3/6, this card has a constant effect upon being played. Whenever you cast a 1-mana spell, add a random mech to your hand. This card can be very powerful when played in a deck that can get a good amount of spare parts since they all cost 1 mana, but the 6 mana cost makes it a lot less threatening. I'm sure decks will be built around this card. Next is Foe Reaper 4000. An 8 cost 6/9, this card has a constant effect upon being played. Whenever it attacks, it will also damage the minions next to that target. This card seems too slow for what it does, so it might not make it into any constructed decks. While it has potential for massive removal, the 8 cost behind it hurts it a lot. Dr. Boom is a 7 cost 7/7 with Battle Cry. When played, summon 2 1/1 Boombots. Boombot is a 1/1 mech with a Death Rattle that deals 1 to 4 damage to a random enemy. A direct replacement for War Golem, this card seems interesting and has some potential for RNG victories. It still doesn't put it anywhere near the top of the legendary list though. Up next is Blingtron 3000, a 5 cost 3/4 with a Battle Cry. When played, equip a random weapon for each player. This card seems like just a fun one, but there's 2 scenarios I can think of where it might gain a lot of value. If you're ready to play an Ooze immediately after to destroy your opponent's weapon, or if your opponent already has a strong weapon and you want to attempt to give him a weaker one. Now we're getting into the class-specific legendaries, starting with Trade Prince Galawix for rogues. This is a 6 cost 5/8 with a constant effect upon being played. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, gain a copy of it and give them a coin. The coin is a spell that grants 1 mana crystal for that turn, similar to the starting coin, except that it cannot be used to trigger Galawick's effect. This card seems to be the successor to Loatheb in the sense that it's meant to discourage enemies from using spells, except with a much higher health pool. Flame Leviathan is Mage's Legendary, a 7-cost 7/7 with a unique effect. When you draw this card, deal 2 damage to all characters. This card is in a strange position because of all the RNG tied to it. It can be absolutely devastating if you draw it with Nerubian eggs on your board or if your opponent has a crazy low health board. It can also be catastrophically bad for you if you draw it when you've just gained board control only to kill your minions off. Also, if you draw it on your first hand, it essentially just becomes a War Golem. Next up is the Paladin Legendary Bolvar 4-Dragon. This is a 5-cost 1/7 with a unique effect. Whenever a friendly minion dies while this card is in your hand, gain 1 attack. This card seems to be on the lower end of the legendaries alongside Flame Leviathan, as it requires a lot of preparation and luck, only to have it potentially denied by a silence. The Shaman Legendary is Neptulon, a 7-cost 7/7 with a Battlecry and Overload 3. When played, add 4 random Murlocs to your hand. Keep in mind that these Murlocs are not coming from your deck, so it is not necessary to build a Murloc deck around it. This card seems very strong, since even with the worst possible RNG on the draws, you'll still end up with crazy value. Let's also not forget about the setup this offers for Bloodlust. Malorn is the Druid Legendary, a 7-cost 9/7 with Death Rattle. When activated, shuffle this minion into your deck. One of the strongest legendaries in the expansion, this card looks to become a staple of most Druid decks. With insane stats for a 7 mana and infinite replayability, good luck beating a Druid in the late game with this card. Next up is Warrior's Legendary. Iron Juggernaut is a 6-cost 6/5 with Battlecry. When played, shuffle a mine into your opponent's deck. When drawn, it explodes for 10 damage. This card will most likely be a well-received addition to the popular Control Warrior deck. It also synergizes very well with Brewmasters for insane damage potential. The Warlock Legendary is Mal'Ganis, a 9-cost 9/7 with a constant effect upon being played. Your other demons gain +2/+2 and your hero becomes immune. This is one of the strongest legendaries in the expansion and will be in most Warlock decks. This legendary will also bring back a lot of Warlock cards that have been considered dead for a while. Just make sure you don't get it copied by a rogue and perma-stealth afterwards. Gazrilla is Hunter's Legendary, a 7-cost 6/9 with a constant effect upon being played. Whenever this minion takes damage, double its attack. A very interesting card with a lot of combo potential for hunters. Paired with a Tundra Rhino, Arcane Shot, and an Elven Archer, that's already a 26 damage turn. It looks promising, but one thing's for sure, Rhinos are going to go extinct, considering they just jumped to the top of the kill list when playing against hunters. Finally, the Priest Legendary is Vol'jin, a 5-cost 6/2 with a Battlecry. When played, swap its health with another minion. This is another powerful legendary this expansion and will most likely be very common in Constructed. When paired with Holy Nova or Holy Smite, this card can kill any big creature and become a monster itself. That's gonna do it for this Hearthstone video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking it and sharing it with your friends. If you'd like to be notified of when a new video is uploaded to the channel, hit the subscribe button you see on your screen. More Hearthstone videos are coming, starting tomorrow when we take a look at all the new Warlock cards. GvG hype! Thanks again.
The light shall burn you!